teams beat Palmy, and to me it's saying that Palmy also can beat Kings. And then I look at their scores and say, well, if they beat them by this much and these guys beat them by that much, then that gives me a pretty good indication of where those three teams would sit. And so like that's kind of how I go through it with every team. And so I always try and find those inter-schools that they play, or if they play, I always try and find different connections of schools and things like that. And so that St. Paul's tournament told me that with the mix of schools and how they played each other out, I thought, okay, this is the standard that these guys can play at and where these guys can play at, and sort of gauge where they all start to fall into place of who's stronger than who kind of situations. So I will move Auckland Grammar up to 18 from 23, just ahead of De La Salle. Raukura might, I will move Raukura to number 11 just for now. St. Peter's School are sitting 15th. They beat Lindisfarne, which they were supposed to anyway. Is their win more impressive than Westlake Boys? Probably not. Westlake Boys had a really tough game against Tauranga Boys. So Westlake Boys are probably going to move up ahead of them. Fielding still haven't really played anyone worth judging them on. They ran close to Marukura and almost lost, so that's really basically a tick against their name. And so that would, even though they are winning, that causes me to think and feel number 13 maybe a bit too high for you guys, and so Fielding will have to be moved back. Now Fielding will have to really make a great impression in terms of winning all their games in the CNI, and that's how I would judge how good Fielding is, was when they start playing those competition games, because St. Peter's is going to be a big one for them. St. Paul's is going to be a big one for them if they don't fall out of the top 25. They're also going to have a hard one against Wesley. Wanganui seems like they're getting some kind of form, and so those are probably the 3 or 4 games that I would probably judge them on, and then finding the links between all the other schools that they've played and to see where they kind of sit. So Fielding might even move back to 14. Westlake could jump up. Napier will probably sit where they are. St. Paul's might even fall back further. Tauranga have lost a game. Nelson have won, but they won against Marlborough, which they should have won anyway. So they may stay put too. Westlake also beat Massey. So pretty much the day after. I've never heard of that. People playing like 2 days in a row, especially in these days. Like usually they're shorter games, but they're not. They played an actual real 70-minute game. So shout out to you fellas for being able to handle that. That's a hard task to do. I don't even care how sort of weak Massey is right now. It's still pretty hard. Massey's got some really good players too. So what I'm doing here is I'm just switching around all the guys, all the ranked teams into sort of order, so that it's easier to read in terms of who all the ranking teams played. So like for example, like Timaru is not, even though they won, and that's cool, but they didn't beat anyone sort of worth really catching my eye kind of thing. And so it's all about who you play and how much you win by. Like, for example, for Timaru's situation and for them to move up, playing a team like Ashburton or Mid Canterbury, it's not in their best nature. It's not worth anything in terms of their ranking, whether they smash them or not. Like, I think if Timaru smash them by 100 points, I think that's worth something to look at. Sort of like how Kings High School did to Kavanagh. They smashed them 117-0. Like, 100 points is not easy to get for anybody. So, that's really worth taking notice of. And Kings High School, I am taking a lot of notice of you fellas and what you guys are doing, because I think that I think you're a lot better than what you guys think you are. So hopefully your guys' confidence lifts up as well to even what I think. So let's start changing this around. Now, this is kind of now. So there's the St. Paul's and Auckland Grammar matched up with Timaru and Napier Boys. St. Paul's is going to fall back quite a lot, losing to two home-ranked teams. And even a draw, to me, a draw is a loss in a way. Especially if you're a ranked team and then you lose to someone that you should have probably beat by, 10, 12 points or more. So we'll start changing this around. I'm going to put Hamilton down out of the second spot, and we'll just put him in the fifth spot for now. No, I'll put him around the seventh spot, which is up with Sacred Heart. Because 2 losses in 1 week is, even though you played 2 games in a week, even losing within a couple of points of both of them, you still have to take the shots for the losses that you have anyway. Now, St. Peter's, the way that I look at it is that St. Peter's, I will look at everyone that St. Peter's played to see and to sort of get a feel of are they worth or worthy of that number 2 spot, or does Silverstream jump them? Like I said before, they were unranked before. They beat Rotorua Boys. Then the first game of the 1A, they beat Kelston Boys. Then they were ranked 22nd, and then they beat Tamaki. Then they beat St. Kennigan's, and then they beat Mags. Now, yes, they're pretty much 5-0 right now, but they have 10 points, 13 points, 15 points, 11 points, 19 points. Now, that's not really a whole lot of scoring, which is something that I take into consideration as well, but their defense is strong, so you can't really fault them for that. Rotorua only scored 7 points, Kelston only scored 10, Tamaki didn't even cross the line. St. Kennigan's got 10 points, and Mags didn't cross the line either, kick anything. So I give it up to their defense. So to me, just looking at it now, they deserve that number 2 spot. You may not agree with it, but how can you fault them on a 5-0? And the only other 5-0 that I know of in the country right now is Hastings Boys. So I'm going to move them up to the number 2 spot. And it's funny too, because a lot of people talk to me about, oh no, don't move them up in the rankings, keep them undercover. It's like, what the hell do you mean keep them undercover? How can you be 5-0 and keep them undercover? Like, what is that? If you're trying to keep them undercover, don't win games. Pretend that you're good. Like, don't actually win them if you want them undercover. And if I don't move them up as ranking goes, then other people are going to complain, hey, they're 5-0, why didn't you move them up? Oh, because other people want them undercover. So I don't get what that means, undercover rubbish. So St. Peter's is locked into the number 2 spot. St. Pat's Silverstream will have to move up too, so they'll take the 3rd spot. I always kind of have a bad game exemption game kind of thing for players or for teams. even though Hamilton boys dominated in both the Rotorua and Auckland Grammar, they just weren't good finishers. They just didn't know how to finish those games. So, you have to fault them for that to St. Kennegans. They have lost the game, but the game that they have lost to is St. Peter's, who is a second-ranked team, so I'll still move them up because that loss still means that they lost to a good team. And so they can still take that number 4 spot. Christchurch boys is going to move away from that spot. Now, this is where kind of gets tricky, and sort of a lot of thought goes into this, and weighing up why a team's loss or a draw is better than another one's, because that's kind of what you have to think about too. Now, Sacred Heart losing to Gisborne boys, I don't think Gisborne boys is on their level. I really don't. Not on Sacred Heart. So even if you tell me that, well, they drew 12-all, okay. Sacred Heart may even say we rested some players. Well, that's not Gisborne's fault. They just play whoever's there. They're not going to walk off the field because they say, oh, this guy's not playing, so we don't want to play you. They're going to play whoever you put out there. It's Sacred Heart's responsibility to get the win regardless of what players they have on the field, and it's to everybody as well. So we're going to take that. We're going to take that draw. Sacred Heart is sitting 7th. Kings is 8th. Christ's is 9th. Now either Hamilton boys moves back to 8th, or they take that 6th spot. Hamilton's 2 losses is what bothers me. Christchurch has only lost one game. Christchurch has only lost one game. Christ College has only lost one game. Christ College lost to Nelson, was it? Right in the first game, which I thought was a terrible loss, to be honest. Like, it was only 1 point, but I don't know. I still think they're a better team than Nelson. Maybe the Moeska just does something to you. They're pretty good defending it too, Nelson. So the positive about Hamilton's 2 losses is that Hamilton lost to 2 ranked teams. 14-11, which is 14 and 23, which is still pretty good. Because pretty much everybody in the top 25 can beat each other, and that's not really a secret or anything like that, or it's not really a surprise. Christchurch, they lose to Christ's a few points. Christ lose to Nelson by 1. Nelson was ranked. So the better loss, Nelson was ranked 19th. And you think about it, because Christ College, if they just won that game, got the Moeska, they could be sitting 5-0 too. They would be 5-0 as well with the Moeska Cup, and they would easily be a top 4 team. But now, because they have lost that one to Nelson, it does make it a bit different. It does show how that there are some weaknesses that they need to fix up, or maybe they have fixed it up, and they could keep just that with their one loss in this whole competition would be great. And Christ College will play Rathco tomorrow. I don't think that they're going to lose to Rathco, but they could go into a 6-1 start, which is massive. Like that's a really good record. So, okay, so you have to reward. Sacred Heart will move back because they lost. They drew, and they lost to Kings. Um, they drew, and they Kings only lost to them right at the end. Hamilton Boys at 7? I don't think so. And Kings have beaten Kings beat De La Salle 34-12. Just lost by 1 point to Sacred Heart. They've had 2 easy games to Liston and Tamaki College, which are the new fellas. So you can't, like, and this is what I like, is like, it's cool that Kings won, right? And Liston managed to score a try, which is cool. Tamaki kicked the goal, but the best thing about Kings is that they scored 51 and 67 points, meaning that they did show how dominant they were, or they did show a good scoreline of what it should be anyway, so that should count towards them as well. Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart. So Kings. De La Salle will be the good one for Kings. And a good scoreline too of 34-12. The other hard one will be that they lost to Sacred. Sacred was ranked 5th. Kings was ranked 7th. They lost by 1 point. You're just going to have to show fault. With Sacred Heart.